Well, hello and welcome to day 2 of 24 in this first month of the year of 2024. I'm excited to be sharing with you again this morning, this afternoon, tonight, whenever it is that you decide to take a look at this. But I am hopeful that each day that as we walk through the book of Luke, that you will spend the time on that day reading through that particular chapter. I'm one of those that I believe in reading slow. A lot of times we are pressed for time, or at least we think we're pressed for time because we didn't properly prioritize. So we just say, let me read all of this. But I am a firm believer in reading slow because sometimes just taking your time. So you spend more time in one chapter than the other, great. If you move on, great. But make sure that you're actually spending the time because the word of God is alive, it's powerful, it's sharp, um, it's two-edged. It's a two-edged sword. It divides the joint and the marrow, the soul and the spirit. It knows the very intents and the thoughts of the heart. So I encourage you to dive in. And for those of you that wonder, why Luke? I don't know why Luke, but we're in Luke. And then it just fell just right for me that there are 24 chapters. So we're going with it. So today, Luke 2. I titled this, Whose Business Will You Really Be About? And I pose that question and that challenge and that charge to myself and to those of you that are listening to me. Whose business will you really be about? Because as you look in chapter 2 of Luke, this is now. Yesterday, we talked about the announcement of Jesus, the announcement of John and their parents, and how they responded differently, and how important it is for you to make sure that you're latched on to somebody that might be going through something unlikely. Connect with them, how it's important when we hear the word of the Lord, how we respond to that word, because that response will determine what our experience will be. And also, it's important for us to prepare and present ourselves ready for a visitation from the Lord. So today, I challenge you with the question, whose business will you really be about in this hour? Because chapter 2, of course, now talks about this actual birth of Jesus. You've all heard this narrative, this story of what happens, where he was, and how the angels came, the shepherds came. But also, there was a presentation of Jesus that as he was presented, there's pieces in chapter 2 that talks about the prophecy that goes forth concerning him from Simeon and from Anna, the older woman that always found herself in the synagogue or in the sanctuary. And so we find ourselves today looking at those early years of Jesus, especially in that area where Jesus was about 12 years old. And I want to encourage you on today that God does give us both work and fun for our enjoyment. He allows things, for us to be able to enjoy, and to be with your family, to do things with your friends, your loved ones, your spouse, things that you that get you up, so to speak. I'm a sports fan all day long, so there is a time and a place for that. But at the end of the day, the question still remains, whose business will you really be about? So I love this because Luke 2 and 49, it says, and he said to them, this is Jesus speaking back to his parents and to the people that he was in the room with. He was saying, Mom, Dad, why are you looking for me? Why do you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my father's business? Or, in other words, I must be about the things of my father's house? And just to kind of give you the backdrop of this, Jesus and his family had went to do what they needed to do. This was at the festival. This was something that they would do annually. And when they went to take care of their business and the caravan got ready to leave, they got down the road a couple days and realized Jesus was not with them. So of course, I'm sure his parents were freaking out because they're like, wait a minute, where is he? So they go back to look for him. They go back to look for him. And in them going back to look for him, this is where he's making this statement here in Luke 2 and 49, because as they've left the Passover festival, they're like, where is he? So they know to go back to Jerusalem. That's where they go to search for him. And I find it very interesting that even around the age of 12, we don't find Jesus out playing with children. Y'all, hear me here, because Jesus has now, we know that the number 12 is a representation of not just authority, but the representation of there should begin to become a level of maturity and accountability. And so here we don't find Jesus out kicking the ball or playing with the other kids when his parents come to find him. We don't even see Jesus distraught. We don't see him sitting over in a corner crying about his parents leaving him or forgetting about him. We don't see Jesus running up the side of the road trying to figure out, can I catch up with the caravan? No, we find Jesus sitting at the teacher's feet, sitting in a place to where not only is he listening in the temple, but he's asking questions in the temple. Now, to me, there was an immediate separation here that Jesus is finding himself even at a young age. And I want to encourage somebody today that it is never too early in your life to set your life aside for the King of Kings. Yes, glory to God. So here, Jesus is not playing around. And you and I, as adults that are listening in or watching this right now, this is not the time to be playing. I'll say that again, because my question to you and I is, whose business will you really be about? We've been about everybody else's business. Y'all know the little saying, you've been, minding your business and drinking your water with your Stanley cup. We've been doing that. Or you've been minding your business and drinking your tea, or dropping tea with your whatever cup. But have you decided to mind the business of the Father? Because Jesus questions his mother here, and he says, wait a minute, why y'all looking for me? And I don't know about you, but isn't it, I think, something that is very a sure tell sign that if people can't really pin you down, hey, they can't really find you, they can't find you out, they can't snoop on you, they can't booby trap you, they can't set you up when you're about your Father's business. He says, the reason why you're looking for me doesn't make sense. Don't you know by now? I make it a point to be about the things of my Father's house. So regardless of what's going on in my house, regardless of what's going on in your house, one thing he has committed to do is to be about his Father's business. So I encourage you, and I asked you that question, whose business have you been about? Whose business are you about right now? But my charge is, on this second day of day 24 of 2024, whose business will you be about moving forward? Because Jesus shows us here, I'm not about to sit in a corner and cry about somebody leaving me. I'm not about to sit in the corner and cry because I tried to run behind the caravan and I couldn't catch up. And I'm not out in the street playing with kids and playing kids' games, because I'm about the Father's business. Are you about the Father's business today? Because on each side of this verse 49, we see a similar, I would say a similar thread here. We see in verse 40 and verse 52 of chapter 2. Verse 40 says, and the child, this is before they quote unquote leave him there. And the child continued to grow and become strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace or the favor, the spiritual blessing of God was upon him. That's verse 40. So this is before they went to the temple and then they lose him, or he stays back to be about his Father's business, listening to what's happening and then asking questions. Can I encourage you today? Make sure that you find yourself listening. Make sure that you find yourself asking questions. This is not the time to sit back and not know what the heck is going on. Hmm. So, verse 40 says that he grew, he became strong, he was filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. This is before the temple. Then, after the temple, it says, verse 52, and Jesus kept increasing in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with man. So, today I want to leave you with this because it's important. Whose business are you going to be about? Stop minding the things of everybody else. Why? Because Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14 says this: the conclusion, when everything has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Whatever business that you and I are minding, it will be judged. Whatever business that you and I are minding, everyone this applies to. Hmm. But what I love about Jesus, verse 40, verse 52, go check it out, is that development was important to him. And I said this to you on yesterday. It is all about how we will discipline ourselves, how we will make sure that we bring ourselves under, because being about the Father's business will cause your spiritual development to have to be cultivated, your physical development to have to be cultivated, and even your social development to have to be cultivated. You say, Natalie, what do you mean by what does this have to do with my physical and my social development or even my spiritual development? Because verse 52 says, and Jesus kept increasing. Your increase is going to be tied to, are you developing spiritually? Why? Because it says increasing in wisdom. Wisdom, the only true wisdom is the wisdom from above. Wisdom, that is your spiritual development. It says, and in stature, so that is your physical development. It says, and with favor, blessing, relationship with God and with man. That is your social development. So, on day 2 of 24, I encourage you to make sure that you know what your business is, mind your business, and make sure that you are being about the Father's business, because that is the business that will ultimately be judged and determined whether it's good or whether it's evil. God bless you.